Hello, everybody, and welcome back once more to Anime Yay or Nay. I am TheOutbackAl.
I'm Yin&Jung.
I'm CheerandCosplay.
I'm Envy Jitters.
I'm CheerandCosplay.
And I'm Kozi.
And it's a new year for all of us. Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year!
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Yep, first of the year, and why not start with liking and subscribing? That could be a great thing for you to do right now. Also, Power Rangers, because who wouldn't want to start the year with Power Rangers?
The Power Rangers.
We were supposed to end the year with Power Rangers, but I'm fine with starting off the year with Power Rangers. So Green with Evil is what we watched, because that's probably one of the more famous Power Ranger story arcs, and we kind of decided, hey, maybe the first 3 episodes of these shows are not always the best after watching VR Troopers and Beetleborgs.
I was gonna say Beetleborgs was the oddest show that I have watched, because it was a bit of an amalgamation of a lot of different things that didn't quite go together.
Yep.
It gets so much better later on.
Yep. What about this week, though? What did you guys think of the original Saban show that took TV shows from Japan and made them American?
I mean, you can definitely tell that even though the budget is still cheap, it was definitely more expensive than the other 2 shows we've watched. And
Actually,
it obviously set the template for, what those shows would be. And for, 90s cheesy acting, I thought the 5 main characters were, they're iconic for a reason. So I enjoyed it. And obviously, getting the late Jason David Frank as Tommy, the most iconic character in the franchise, that his big introduction, that's a plus.
Yeah.
So,
He also died?
oh, yeah, Jason David Frank just died.
Yeah,
Oh.
he passed in December this year. Or was it November? Hang on, I'm sorry.
No, it was
might-
I think
December.
it was
Yeah, okay.
Was it December?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, no, November, mid-November. It was
Oh,
like
was
right
it
before
November?
Thanksgiving. Unfortunately.
Like, I feel like we talked about this around Thanksgiving.
We did. It's honestly, these last couple of years, every month is running into every other month, so it's like,
Yeah.
God, what horrible thing happened this week, So, but yeah, this was his introduction. I want to say he was like 20, I think, when this came out. Like, in 93.
Really?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
at this point in time, Power Rangers actually had a pretty decent budget.
Yeah, this was their first series, so they were going to put a little... Well, I don't know what they were expecting. Like, they were still... We've talked about that they were going to make a cheap show, and they wanted to make a cheap show. But at the same time, I think they had to put up a little bit extra just to make sure that they could get the ball rolling initially. But, this did eventually become a huge cash cow for Saban and everything,
Definitely.
so... Who here has watched Power Rangers before this? I know I have. Cozy, I'm assuming you?
Yeah.
My only experience with Power Rangers was the 2017 movie that came out, and I actually enjoyed that a lot.
Yeah, it was better than a lot of people thought.
My viewpoint is probably very skewed because I had no experience.
Chippy? Cece?
So I only know little bits and pieces because I didn't really watch this growing up. But my brother was really into like the dinosaur one.
Well, which dinosaur
Thunder?
one? This
Dino
one?
Thunder.
Dino Thunder? Dino Charge? Super Dino Charge? There might be another one
God.
Hasbro's doing now.
So I only remember there being like 3 Rangers.
Dino Thunder, yeah.
So it was, yeah.
That was the one I
And-
saw!
Interestingly enough,
I'm-
also includes Jason David Frank.
And I'm also a little bit more like familiar with the video game for that one.
Oh my god, there was a
rather
video
than
game?
the
there
show
was always video games
itself.
for these. So you saw some Dino Thunder. What did you think? Because I actually did enjoy that season a lot.
I was like really young, so I don't remember a whole lot. And also it's kind of like more or less just on in the background, but I liked the video game.
Yeah.
It was fun.
I think Dino Thunder would have been around 2004 or 5, so that was like right when I was getting into middle school, so I was kind of I think that was the last Power Ranger series I really watched, but Still really good one to add, like, sort of, like, dip out on.
I remember having some of the toys, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dino Thunder's definitely the one where I fell off.
Yeah, I think... God, what was after that? I don't want to, like, just start going through every single Power Rangers series, so maybe we should stick with this for now. If we want to talk about every single Power Ranger series, we can either do it later or on an entirely separate episode. I mean, I'm down to do whatever.
That works.
Okay, so you guys are at least vaguely familiar with who these people are. You know, the theme song, which is one of the most iconic TV show theme songs of all time, kind of explains the plot very simply. There's an evil witch on the moon that escaped a dumpster and now is trying to take over Earth, and a giant head in a tube gets his little robot buddy to find teenagers with attitudes to give them superpowers.
Yeah, did they really have attitude?
Not really. They are like, I'm gonna be real, you guys have not seen nearly as much of this as I have, but it's like, these are...
They're like the most boring human beings.
I don't want to say boring,
you know what?
but...
The second Rangers, they have some personality.
When they were, yeah, a little bit, but it's more of like, I think they wanted these kids to be role models, which they should, they're superheroes, but they were like, let's have them do every single possible charitable thing on the planet. And you're kind of, and at a certain point, I know you don't think about this as a kid, but you're like, okay, so you guys are always volunteering at the youth center and picking up garbage around the park, or doing this, or doing that, or being in karate tournaments. And like, it's like every single episode is a new thing they're doing. Like, when do you sleep? When do you go to school? We see you in school. We don't see you go to class. So I'm assuming you're skipping class to do more altruism or whatever. It's just... I don't know. I think later on they did some better characterization with like the work-life balance elements. But...
The only quote-unquote teenagers, and I say teenagers, they were probably adults when they made this. The two bullies, what are their names?
Bulk and Skull?
Skull and Ball.
Yeah, those were the only two teenagers, and I'm probably going to say teenager in quotes because I'm sure they were in the 20s when they filmed that.
I will throw this out. I'd have to look up Bulk and Skull's ages for that. I think the only person who's an actual teenager here is actually the Red Ranger. He was 19 when this came out. So
even Kimberly and Trina were...
No, I think Trini was 19 too.
I have to double check. Hang on. 73. No, she was 20.
Okay.
Or at least turning 20 or something like that. I know...
She might have been 19 at the auditions then.
Yeah, something like that. Everyone else, I think they range from like 19 to 24. So, at least young enough to be believable as teenagers, I suppose.
And they were all actually doing like their own stunts.
Mm-hmm. Well, they weren't going to like hire stunt people.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was definitely a nice touch, like actually like seeing them all do like the flips and things.
I will say, because I kind of wish a little bit that we had seen the first episode, because the first episode kind of introduces all the characters, and like Jason, the Red Ranger, or soon to be Red Ranger, is like teaching a karate class and stuff because they do nothing but volunteer their time. And one of the students is Billy, the Blue Ranger, and it's like that thing of, in those movies where the nerdy girl becomes the hot girl, but underneath you can see, okay, you're already very hot. They just put glasses and put your hair in a ponytail. Like,
yeah.
Okay, Billy is, like, clearly very physically fit and capable of fighting, but he's pretending to not know how to fight, and it's not very convincing. It's just one of those things of, like, if it's... I don't want to say it's like a 1-to-1, but it was almost like if, you see like John Cena pretending like he doesn't know how to fight.
Were all five of them friends, or do they just meet by chance? Because I feel like Zach and Billy, not Zach and Billy, Zach and the Red Ranger. I bet you they were probably friends.
Yeah, they all hang out at the youth center. They're all like they're the five kids who do nothing but volunteer their time for their community. Of course, they know each other. So I think Jason and Zach both are like regular martial artists. They like teach classes and stuff. I think Zach came up with his own fighting style called hip hop aikido, which you kind of see when he's in the park during this
Yeah.
5-part series. Billy's kind of just the nerd, I think. Trini, I forget Trini. She might do like Tai Chi or something. Like they all do something, and Kimberly's the Valley Girl. But
Kimberly's gymnastics.
oh right, she was the gymnast. That's right.
There you go. She's useful.
Yeah, that's all. It's like
She's not just a
everyone
Valley
be
Girl.
physically active and eat your fruits and vegetables and drink juice at the juice bar and volunteer your time. It's like it's a good message, but it's also like, do you have lives? I don't know. And then there's Tommy.
Honestly, how much
who-
attitude can they have if they're always volunteering?
That's kind of what I'm saying a little bit.
I mean, teenagers with attitude.
I don't know.
Good attitudes?
Good attitude.
Yeah.
You got a really good attitude, mister. But then we got to talk about Tommy, because this is really his intro and like the Green Ranger and everything. And I kind of love like just the first thing you see of him. He's just like warming up for a fight and going crazy and like, oh, he's gonna be a badass. And this turns out to also be like the nicest person in the world. I think honestly of all the people there, Jason David Frank is probably the best actual fighter, because he went on to have an actual career in martial arts for a while. He hang on, let me read this off because I have his thing written up here. He has a black belt in Shotokan Karate, black belt in Wado Ryu Karate, black belt in Taekwondo, black belt in Judo, purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and an Arjan degree in Muay Thai.
Huh.
Wow.
He invented his own style of martial art, his own school called Tosukundo, which translates to Way of the Street Fighter. Badass. Let's see here. He was also he had a very short career, but he was in the MMA for a little bit. He had 4 amateur fights and 1 professional debut fight, all of which he won, some of which he won in under a minute.
Well,
I think there was one guy in like one of his last amateur fights where he beat him. He knocked him out in 23 seconds.
Yeah,
Dang.
I'm sure all 5 of the regular Rangers used a stunt double at some point, but I feel like he probably did all his stunts. Like he never used a stunt double.
Yeah, no, he was a certified badass. And honestly, if anyone like, I'm almost like looking at him like, dude, I kind of wish you were bitten by a radioactive spider so you could become an actual superhero. But
On the subject of stunt doubles, Envy, you're right. But that's only because the working conditions were so bad and they forced the actors to do their own stunts that were dangerous most of the time, that they ended up injuring themselves a lot.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm sure child labor laws weren't the same back then.
to be fair, they weren't children. I think
Yeah.
we covered
Well,
that, but
that is true. Yeah, that is
This was a non-unionized production.
yeah, that's a big thing with Saban, is that they never worked with anyone in unions.
Well, also, what footage of them in the suits was American, and what footage in the suits was Japanese?
The majority of
For
this
this
footage,
one, I think it's all Japanese.
not entirely. Some of the Green Ranger, you might be able to notice this. The command center was
The
American
foam
footage.
shoulder pads.
Yeah, you'll notice in the Japanese footage his shoulder armor looks way better than when he's in like the command center. And that's because the command center is American footage, and they couldn't get the full suit from Japan, so they improvised. It didn't look great, but
But it's a kids show.
Yeah,
So are
this
they
was-
really gonna notice?
Yeah, this was like within the first 20 episodes, so it was before they had like gotten full access to like the old suits and stuff. I don't think that was probably like later on in season 2. I don't think before season 2 you ever see like, because they occasionally have that shot of the Rangers with they take the helmet off and they're holding the helmet off to the side kind of thing.
So, Power Rangers was just supposed to like end at episode 39 and 40.
Yeah, but why end it there when you got something that's clearly a hit?
Yeah, so Fox actually reached out and they commissioned Japan for like a lot of stuff.
Oh yeah.
Like extra footage, like every time we see the villains, the reason like the lip flaps match up is because they they sent over the script and commissioned that. So that's the actual actor pretending to talk in English.
Sometimes. They eventually did switch out Rita's actor because they ran out of a lot of the footage. And there was like some sort of... It happens after Lord Zed, who Lord Zed is a total American-made thing. He is not in the original show in any capacity. And I think it was after he was introduced that they were like, we need more stuff of Rita, but we needed Rita with Zed, and we don't have the Japanese actress to bring her over to be with Zed, so we'll get someone else to do it, and we'll just have some sort of like weird episode where Rita has a makeover, so that's what explains why she looks a little different. So that's how they got around that. I never noticed. So, but to be fair, I was a child watching reruns of this. So
Yeah, so a bulk of season 2 was actually like the monsters. That was Japanese footage, but it was only for Power Rangers. It wasn't for Super Saiyu.
yeah, so it's weird. You can kind of almost count it if it was only in the American show. It's almost kind of American footage, just shot elsewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a weird, like, sort of limbo area for the rest of it. But this is definitely, this arc, this Green with Evil arc, was definitely a part of the original, what is it, Go Die Ranger? God, I should have this, like, up in front of me.
Zyuranger.
Yeah. Oh, the second and third season drew elements from Gosei Sentai Dai Ranger and Ninja Sentai Kaku Ranger. Dai Ranger is where the White Ranger comes from. And that's where the Thunder Swords came from for the second season that they did. Because they fucking ran out of shit to do.
Well, they wanted to be able to have the tiger toy.
Yeah. So, I mean, the original story of this in Zyranger was really a story between the Red and Green Ranger, because the Green Ranger was the Red Ranger's brother in that. I know that much. But outside of that, I think it's like mostly the same. It's like mind control and evil swords and whatnot. So, at the very least, they were translating it for the most part pretty well.
No. No, that's not what happened.
What happens? Because I wanted to watch it, but I didn't have time.
So, in Zyuranger, first of all, the premise is all the Power Rangers are actually as old as dinosaurs, and they put themselves into like a cryostasis to wake up when Rita was released.
Oh, so like the thing with the 2017 Power Rangers, but with Bryan Cranston.
Maybe I didn't see 2017.
It's not bad.
There's some problems with it, but I thought it was really good for the most part.
So, I think they're only technically half-brothers. And
I knew they were related somehow. I felt like brother was the easiest guess.
The Red Ranger was related to like another clan, so the one that, like their father's clan, that was taken out, so the Green Ranger lost everything.
Okay.
The Red Ranger had nothing to do with it.
But he blames him
But he
anyway?
was still like, yeah,
Okay,
I'm gonna freaking kill you.
They've definitely done that somewhere else in Power Rangers.
He did work with Rita, but it wasn't a brainwashing thing,
Okay.
and that's why he betrays her.
Okay.
He's like, I'm not about to help you take over the world. I just want to kill my brother.
Well, I've wanted to kill my brother a number of times too. I can see where he's coming from.
And then the reason there was such limited footage of the Green Ranger is because he technically died in his cryo sleep, and the Megazord revived him, but it was with the caveat that once he woke up, he only had 36 hours to live, which is what the candle represented.
Yeah,
I don't think we saw the candle in
That's
this, but
later on. They try to keep Tommy around for a lot longer throughout the season, but eventually they very much run out of footage because there's not a lot of footage of the Green Ranger. So they use the black candle footage to represent his power slowly slipping away because he got it from Rita. So
yes.
Yeah.
So in Zyuranger, that was actually his lifespan.
Okay.
So he's put in like a little time chamber where time doesn't move. So every time he comes out, he starts losing life.
Oh shit, he's Winter Soldier.
Sure.
I'm making comparisons where I can make comparisons.
Anyways, he does get offed eventually.
Oh yeah, I imagine so, because like they have to like eventually the Red Ranger does get his like armor pieces as like a power up for some stuff. I know that's a thing.
Once he got offed in the Japanese, that would have been when we could have gotten the Green Ranger suit over here in America.
Well, I mean, all this had already like aired, I think, before Power Rangers was even like starting production. Now, I feel like the show was like done and wrapped. I don't know, like I mean, I might be wrong here, but I don't think they were like being filmed simultaneously.
I think like we were around the end of theirs.
Yeah, I mean, like, if it was a new show over there that, like, just wrapped up and was finishing off, and then we picked it up and then started working on stuff, I understand that, but, like, I doubt, like, they would have... Because this was kind of an experiment of a show. I don't think they were going to, like, pick a show that was, like, in the middle of its production, not knowing whether it's going to even look good or not, and commit to, we're going to take this and bring it over here. Kind of thing. I think they had to have already at least aired most of their episodes, though they had it pretty much done before they were like, yeah, let's take this and bring it over. Because, like, that's just... I mean, this was already going to be a gamble. That's a huge fucking gamble.
The only reason I say I think it was still, like, airing / in production in, like, its latest finales parts is because of how easily they consented to shooting footage of the villains. Specifically just for the American show.
Okay, I can kind of see that. I mean, I don't know. It might be like maybe the studio just didn't have another like project set up ready to go, and they were like, hey, we can make some quick money, not even by making a full show. Let's just shoot some quick fight scenes with the props we already have. I mean, I could very easily see someone like being like after the fact, because like it's like you don't even have to make a full episode or anything. Just like, well, it's like a third of the actual production or something. Yeah.
Yeah, but like the villains were probably the most like time and money consuming characters to shoot because those were a lot of prosthetics.
I mean, it depends, because like a lot of the villains and the monsters and stuff, depending on like depending on what all was shot, the monster suits are just like foam stuff that you can paint over or do this and that, or you can like switch them out with like different series if you paint them a different color. I mean, there's a number of different ways you can make this work. No, I'm talking
specifically just Rita and her little inner circle.
Okay. Goldar and Fatso and Finster, those are all foam creatures. Those you don't got to worry about. Rita has a costume, not a whole lot in the way of prosthetics. And again, her actress was eventually changed anyway. The only one I could really see having, like, maybe having to do some makeup is I forgot his name. The
one that looks like he's covered in hair.
Yeah, him. But even that, like, I think for the most part is probably just a suit. I mean, they might have to, like, add some face makeup, but I can see most of that probably just being an outfit he slips on. I mean, you can double check me, but it didn't look like anything that was like... It didn't look like Jim Carrey's Grinch costume that we know he had to sit for like 8 hours to get that all going. Crazy. I mean, it looks like he's got like some white makeup on his face and like a really hairy wig wrapped around his head.
I wonder if they have the original costumes like displayed anywhere.
Someone's gotta. You know someone.
I know they would have the
those
Ranger suits, but
I mean, eventually Saban did buy them so that they could keep making some stuff with it. But yeah, we're getting really into some behind the scenes stuff, I guess, here. If you really want to see like a lot of the behind the scenes or like more in-depth analysis, I brought this up I think during VR Troopers. The guy on YouTube, Linkara, who does a lot of comic book stuff, also does like History of the Power Rangers. He makes like one of those videos a year for History of the Power Rangers. Very in-depth, very good, whole lot of like background stuff. Speaking of background, I kind of wanted to address something because there was a comment on the VR Troopers episode we did about how Brad Hawkins, the guy who played Ryan Steele, was supposed to be the White Ranger in Season 2. And I have not been able to find any confirmation about that whatsoever. I'm not saying that they were wrong, but I haven't found anything that confirms that. However, I did find on Jason David Frank's filmography that he was in a pilot for a show called Cybertron, where he played a character named Adam Steele, and Cybertron eventually got picked up as VR Troopers without him. And that's when Brad Hawkins kind of took over the character, it became Ryan, and they switched around a couple of different things. But yeah, the pilot...
VR Troopers would have been much more interesting.
I mean,
with
a
Jason David Frank.
Maybe. I don't know. I haven't seen the pilot, so... But yeah, he did that. That pilot was in 94. VR Troopers... I don't know. It was... Some people were saying, like, Brad Hawkins was supposed to be the White Ranger, but Tommy was way more popular. I think Tommy or Jason David Frank was being put on this other show because they probably wanted to keep him around for different production stuff because he was popular, and there's, like, a back and forth of, like, oh, did they just switch them around? I can't confirm any of that. It's possible. He clearly did come back for the 94 to 95 season 2 of Power Rangers, and continued on through, like, all the way through to Turbo. So...
Turbo was such a good movie.
Turbo was
And
fun.
season.
Very fucking weird, though, when you think about it in the larger scheme of things.
Yes, but... I don't know. It was a good combination.
Yeah. We should actually talk about the plot of these episodes. I mean, it's set up to set up your Sixth Ranger. You got a new person who shows up in town. They get hypnotized by the villain to become the evil Ranger, which is, something that they've used a couple of times. How you introduce your Sixth Ranger has always been a little bit different in each Power Ranger thing. Sometimes they're evil, sometimes they're an ally, sometimes they're ally of convenience kind of deal. I don't know.
I was telling my two friends from high school this because they grew up watching Power Rangers and I didn't. I was telling them, I can only imagine what it was like watching these episodes as a kid, seeing the main five getting their asses kicked for 5 episodes straight and nearly dying and having the villains nearly win. Like, I can imagine that was probably stress-inducing as a kid.
Fucking crazy, man.
You see Tommy you technically see Tommy introduced in that opening karate match where him and Jason fight and they basically draw, but then almost every other time Tommy goes on 5v1 and kicks their ass or something like that.
Well, yeah, now he's got superpowers and, he doesn't hold back anymore.
Although Jason definitely has his moments to shine too, especially when he goes 1v1 against Goldar when he doesn't have his suit.
Yeah, no, that was good. I think everyone had some small moments to shine a little bit more the character you're introducing and the Red Ranger, who I think they did focus a little bit on Jason because part of it is the actual fight scenes from the Sentai stuff do kind of have that red versus green thing going on because that was a larger story for them. But so they were like, we have to build up this Jason versus Tommy thing a little bit. They also have other stuff. Kimberly setting up their romance that would eventually become a thing and then not a thing off screen. And, God, I'm really trying to think. Billy's mostly fixing the command center, which kind of became his whole job after a while. Zach and Trini are kind of there. This is not a big arc for them, I don't think. Unfortunately.
I do have one question, and I know we're probably going out of order, but I this confused me when I was watching the episode. In the one episode, they seem like they destroyed the Zorgs or the robots by throwing them in the volcano. Mm-hmm. But then whenever they bring back what's
Zordon?
The guy's name? Yeah, whenever they bring back Zordon, they magically, I guess, come back to life. They're not even destroyed. Did they do it? Can you explain that to me?
No, you pretty much explained it. Zordon came back and they came back to life.
Okay.
That's it.
Is that how
in
it
the
works?
Japanese, they were only destroyed because of the eclipse.
Yeah.
Because they're powered by the sun.
Yeah. They did include that, the Megazord powered by the sun and all that sort of thing, but...
Did they? I wasn't paying
They did. I
attention.
mean, that was like Rita's like, I have to make an eclipse so that it can sap the Megazord's
Also-
power.
Megazord is a god.
Yeah, pretty much.
No, quite literally, he's like the Power Ranger god.
Yeah. I mean, like, why did you think they always call upon him to take out the biggest monsters? He's basically a god. I did like the one moment where I think they were fighting. The Green Ranger was fighting everyone after Jason got locked in that dark space thing with Goldar, and then they just summon up the Megazord and the Green Ranger and the Megazord are like stare at each other down, and the Megazord's just kind of looking at him like, "What do you want to do?" Me
It
big,
felt
you
a
small.
little overkill.
So wait, the Megazord is actually a living thing.
More or less. I mean, the Zords
I
are
don't know
too.
if they ever include it in this, but yeah.
I mean, not necessarily. They don't go into depth with it here, but I mean, you do see with the Dragon Zord that it's semi or fully sentient. It's just being kind of controlled by the flute. I love this. I'm going to play my dagger flute that sounds like a trumpet through a synthesizer with my mouth that is completely covered and can't blow air.
Yep.
It's kind of great. I love it. Yeah, I think that to a large degree, the Zords are all at least either semi or fully sentient, and it's like a partnership between them and their ranger, and yeah. I think it's always like, whenever they become the Megazord, they just like always have the kids piloting and doing all that sort of stuff because it's like, hey, you still need something to do. Otherwise, we would just have the robot do everything. I mean, logically, eventually you get to that point of being like, why does anyone do anything? Why don't they just always call the Megazord first?
Okay, but like, the Megazord was a little bit of overkill. They're like, we can't win. We're gonna squish you with our giant robot.
I'd like to point out that they didn't do that. They just kind of gave him a "come at me, bro," like
He ran away because he didn't want to get squished by a giant robot.
And that's fair. The fight's over. They ended the fight. No one got squished.
No, that was like some petty loser BS on the Rangers' part.
Man, they had no idea who this person was. He just comes in and just like kicks their asses 6 ways from Sunday. I mean, what would you do at that point? Like, we need Megazord power now.
I don't know, but it's not a fair fight.
Oh, meh. He grows big too and fights them. I do like that. I don't know that we've ever like seen any other like. We've seen monsters grow. We've seen the Megazords and that. I don't think we've ever seen like just a person or a ranger grow big except here. I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure from what I remember, this is the only time that that's happened. I'm like, why doesn't that happen more?
Because none of it makes sense when you actually look at it with like a critical eye.
I don't know. I guess you gotta be evil if you want to just be able to grow.
Well, Rita's supposed to get her powers from Satan.
Do they
I
mention
don't know
that?
if they included that.
I don't know if they included that. I know that she's like part of an evil council thing and a bunch of other stuff. There's also like the Machine Empire from Zeo and a whole bunch of other, that like it's all somewhat interconnected all the way through. I want to say Lost Galaxy has connections in there.
He was the villain in the first movie.
Ivan Ooze?
Yes,
He was fun.
That was Satan.
That was Satan?
Yes.
I don't know why you're saying it so weird.
I'm saying it correct, thank you.
I don't know what you're talking about. Anyway, Ivan was fun. Very weird movie. Very fun movie, though. Maybe at some point we watch that. Apparently completely not canon, because Season 3 included Ninja Quest, which is how they get their Ninja Zords in the TV show canon. So, but I like to think that the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movies is how it all happened.
Cece, you had a question about the Zord segments.
Did I?
Yes.
Do you remember what it was?
Okay. Trying to lead you there, but okay. So, Cece had wanted to know if, when they were filming all of the Zord stuff, if that was all the actual toys being used to film it.
Right.
I definitely not when they're actually fighting, no. But
No.
I mean, it could have been some of them for like the little models and stuff where they're like popping out of the ground or volcanoes and stuff. I mean, that would be a great way to advertise your toys. I know at the very least, like, the production for the American footage of Power Rangers, they would like lose the morphers every now and then. And when they did that, they would literally just go to a toy store and buy one off the rack. So I don't know whether that goes to how the quality of the production of the toys that were being made, or that they were just super cheap props.
LOL.
Probably a little bit of both. But yeah, I'd imagined that, yeah, maybe those were the actual toys and they were showing them off a little bit. That's honestly a great way to advertise them, because this is honestly a big toy commercial for the Zords and everything else. Oh, also the introduction of the Super Dragon Megazord at the end. New toy! I didn't think it was till like later series that they started doing we're going to bring in one new Zord that will then switch out with other parts of other Zords. I always thought like the sixth Zord was usually just, it's going to combine with the Megazord itself. But yeah, I guess they were doing like the modular toys a lot earlier than I thought.
And if you had the Megazord that broke down into actually all of the individual Zords, you were the coolest bitch on the block.
Yep, never had the original one. Had a bunch of the later ones, but never had that original Megazord.
I had it, and the pterodactyl one kept fucking, like, the head would snap off a lot.
I'd imagine it seemed a little like on the thin and maybe flimsy side. Let's see here. They destroy his sword. Tommy becomes good. He becomes a ranger. Hangs out for a bit. Loses his power. Grapples with his inner demons. Then he gets the white light. And then Rita somehow resummons the Green Ranger to fight him. There's a green versus white fight. Oh, God, what happens? Then the ninja stuff later. Then they became children and a bunch of aliens took over for them. Then the command center got blown up. Then they found the Zeo crystals. Then we start Power Rangers Zeo. Then for some reason way later we decide, oh, forget the Zeo powers that were very powerful. We'll go with Turbo and cars and stuff. And then Tommy leaves.
Yeah. Now we're drag racing.
Yeah, drag racing is much better than ancient animal powers from beyond time and space. Turbo was weird. Turbo was a really weird, like, season to throw in there after Mighty Morphin and Zeo, honestly. I mean, it makes sense for, like, going from Turbo to space. I can kind of see the transition point there. It's leaning more towards technology and stuff as opposed to, like, alien space magic and that. But still, that transition is I don't feel like that was an easy one to make. What? I genuinely don't know if they ever gave a real reason as to why they gave up the Zeo powers.
I mean, I don't think they could give a reason. It was just, oops, we're out of the footage.
Yeah, like, but they had to have it, because here's the thing, it's all still in continuity. If they didn't start doing that, we're going to bring an entirely new cast and have an entirely new plot until the like, what was it, the 5th series, Lost Galaxy. Because Mighty Morphin, Zeo, Turbo, and Space are all in continuity. And
well, the transition from Zeo to Turbo would have been the movie.
No. It would have. The movie happened right after season 2 of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. After they were like, well, let's forget the Thunder Zords because we're out of stuff from.
No. Not the original movie. The Turbo movie.
Oh, the Turbo movie. Oh, right. No, I don't think it was because Tommy was the Red Ranger. Did they already have
their powers?
Yeah, to some degree. Tommy was the Red Ranger in Turbo. Was he still the Red Ranger in the movie? I'm genuinely... because it feels like an intro. It feels like an introduction to everything.
All I
He
remember
eventually
is
gave up the powers and gave it to someone else, I'm assuming over contract disputes, like everyone else who
those
left the show.
creepy little ape children.
Right. The pod people on the pirate ship that we're going to take our cars on for some reason to go to this deserted island with the volcano monster. Power Rangers is weird. I'm here for it, but it's weird. God, now I'm really trying to remember. Turbo might have been the first bit for... That movie might have been the introduction. Okay. And eventually Tommy leaves. Comes back for some cameos every now and then they have the Wild Force episode Forever Red where all like 10 Red Rangers team up to fight. I forget what it was. It was just there to be a team up. And then he shows back up a few years later in Dino Thunder, becomes the mentor character. Honestly, he did a really good job in that. Becomes their 4th Ranger. Then he's gone until, I think, Super Mega Force at that very last episode where it's like the battle with like 1,000 Rangers, and he shows up in the Green Ranger costume. I think that was it. I think he was done after that. Oh, well, except for that, there was like some promo stuff that he did for the Shattered Grid comic, where he played like Lord Draken, which was like the Green and White Ranger combined.
So the transition from Zeo to Turbo was because their Zeo powers couldn't defeat the enemy in the Turbo movie. So they gave them very fast cars.
So, to be clear, not that I'm complaining, but I'm complaining. Why were the Zeo powers powerful enough to defeat an entire galactic empire of monster machines, but one volcano monster with a admittedly attractive girlfriend with a submarine is too much for them?
I don't know. It just says Zordon and Alpha create new powers for them to defeat Divatox.
I'm calling
with the
a little
turbo
bit
powers and the new vehicular Turbo Zords.
I'm calling a little bit of bullshit on that one. I feel like maybe they could have come up with something better. Like the Zeo crystals ran out of power. Or something. I don't know. I probably would have accepted that more than this super powerful thing that was even more powerful than your Mighty Morphin stuff and helped you defeat an entire galactic empire is not enough for these... Divatox is not a great villain. I'm gonna be honest, she just wasn't, and it's kind of a shame that she's the one who takes down the command center in the end. I feel like we have lost everyone else but you and me, Kozi. I'm sorry to everybody else.
Turbo lives in my head.
This is what happens. This is what happens when two people in a fandom interact and nobody else has a clue on what they're talking about.
Yep. Apologies.
Well, to get kind of back on track, Season 1 was the end of a lot of the original Rangers runs as the Ranger.
Yeah, I think it was like early Season 2. We had the Red, Black, and Yellow Ranger. The real reason is, of course, contract disputes because they weren't being paid enough. They
went to the World Peace Conference.
Yep. And they gave their Power Ranger positions to other people. One of whom was Johnny Young Bosch, so we got to give him points for that.
Yeah, I did not realize that. I really want to go back now.
Yeah. He did a good job. He came back, I remember one episode that sticks out to me from In Space was when the Black Ranger came back to Earth and he runs into Adam Park, played by Johnny Young Bosch, who still has his Mighty Morphin morpher. It's broken, but it was like kind of this like really interesting fight where it's like, oh, you have two Black Rangers from two different series, one of whom is like using powers that are totally unstable. Like that was a cool episode. I'm trying to think here, like
I don't think Kimberly's character lasted much longer either.
She made it, I think, into because she was part of the ninja stuff, so made it into season 3. Billy Yost, who played, or David Yost, sorry, who played Billy, stuck around as a supporting character. He was the last one to leave. Yeah, he was a supporting character for a pretty long time, but even he left after a while. And to be fair, he gave up being a ranger what was that? Was he the blue one in Zeo? I don't. By Turbo, he was just a supporting character. I know that much.
But the reason he left wasn't a contractual dispute. It was homophobia.
Saban claims, he wanted more money, and David Yost said, the crew was using homophobic slurs against me.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I'm more than willing to. I'm very much thinking like, yeah, it was the mid '90s. Yeah, I'm kind of believing David Yost more than anything.
Yeah.
That being said, I won't say that he probably didn't want more money as well, because everyone was severely underpaid.
I mean, fair, but...
Two things can be true at the same time, but it was probably the one thing that was
One
bigger.
of the things they said against him is that he was the one creating the hostile work environment, in that, like, he refused to get along with anyone else on the crew. But the other original Rangers all came out in support of him.
Yeah, I mean, apparently, and this is at least good to hear, like, apparently all of the people who were, like, on the cast together were all very good friends with each other. Like, they didn't, like, have some sort of, like, big falling out, which is why, like, people left or whatever. It was just, like, the producers won't pay us enough money. Like, it's kind of bullshit. And, I mean, even Jason David Frank, like, later on, when he was doing Dino Thunder, was bringing up, like, you know... I mean, he's most famous for Power Rangers, and I think he loves the fans and all that stuff, so he was willing to come back for it. But I think they were like, okay, what's production like now that it's with Disney? He's like, Disney, Saban, doesn't matter, they're all cheap. Apparently he did like everyone who like worked on it, though. He thought they were all did a very good job. So
Well, since it's Disney now, are they unionized?
no, see, okay, so this is kind of interesting because it kind of helps break down some of the different eras of Power Rangers. The Zordon and Saban era. Well, the Zordon era we mentioned runs from Mighty Morphin through part of Lost Galaxy, though that's really just like to be a transition point, because Lost Galaxy was when they started being like, okay, no more connected seasons. It's just every season's going to be its own thing. We'll have a team up episode occasionally, but everything's going to be its own thing. New cast every time, new plot, new villains, all that. So we're not trying to figure out how to make Mighty Morphin the weird amalgamation of 3 or 4 different shows that it was. But Saban ran with Mighty Morphin through part of Wild Force a little bit. The Wild Force is kind of considered to be the first Disney show whenever Disney bought up Power Rangers and all that stuff. So the Disney era kind of runs from a portion of Wild Force through... God, what was it? I want to say Power Rangers RPM, and that's when Saban bought it back. They did Samurai, Super Samurai, Megaforce, Super Megaforce, Dino Charge, Super Dino Charge. They're all the super ones. And, wait, I'm missing one. There's Jungle Fury in there somewhere.
Wait, so who owns it now?
Recently, and I think for the last 2 or 3, it might be 3 now, series of Power Rangers, Hasbro bought it from Saban. Or bought up Saban, one or the other. So it's currently in the Hasbro era. Which I think includes, like... I have not been following the most recent stuff. I know the word Beast Morphers sounds very familiar to me. So, yeah. But that's kind of how it breaks down with that. There's also different breakdowns for, like, who is producing it. And a whole bunch of other things. There's a whole thing about a guy named Kalish who... added tons and tons of CGI explosions that everyone lovingly or not lovingly calls Kalish explosions, which was during the Disney era. But the Disney era specifically, yeah, they didn't do union stuff either. They didn't want to do union stuff because they wanted to be cheap. So to cheapen production even more, they moved production from Los Angeles to New Zealand, where it's pretty much been filming since. So, yeah. Wild Force was the last thing shot in America, unless Hasbro brought it back. I can't remember for sure. Most of my knowledge goes up through part of the Neo Saban era, and it's mostly just I Wikipedia'd a bunch of stuff for curiosity because I love the series. Yeah, so it's complicated. This thing's been around for like 30 fucking years, so it's complicated. God, I mean, do you have any other, like, weird behind-the-scenes questions for this?
Do you think we'll get like a fully American one? Like, I think the movie was fully American, right?
The 2017 one. Yeah, that was after Saban got the rights back, and they decided, like,
They're making a reboot movie because the 2017 movie bombed, so they're gonna reboot it again.
I really wish it hadn't bombed, because I actually thought it was a pretty good start for, like, a reimagining a little bit. I mean, not perfect. Some of these things could have been done a little bit better here and there, but I thought it was pretty solid.
I do like the concept, because I heard Rita was the Green Ranger in that and just became corrupted.
Yeah, I think in that version, Zordon was the original Red Ranger, like, millions and millions of years, like dinosaur time. It's almost a little bit like what you described with Zeo Ranger. With
so,
they
the
were
original
ancient.
plot.
Yeah, like the original, like, yeah. So there were 6 of them. Zordon was the Red Ranger, alien, blah blah blah, and Rita was also an alien, the Green Ranger, and she used a bunch of gold to make that staff and all sorts of stuff. He used the last of his power to lock her away, but it killed him, and he, like, his consciousness was put into the ship, which is how he became a floating head, essentially. Then Rita's back. He gives the power to a bunch of kids to fight her. They do. She summons up Goldar, who doesn't have a personality in the movie. He's just a giant gold golem.
The biggest criticism, there's 2 criticisms I've heard about the movie. One, I can kind of understand. One, I completely understand. One is that there's not a lot of action, but I think that the whole point of that movie was them built, like, you want to talk about teenagers with attitude? These 5 teenagers have attitude. And so they pretty much have to build together to work, to basically become a team that works together. So I liked that they took that approach. The biggest complaint, though, the product placement of that movie is absolutely ridiculous. It's not even product placement. Krispy Kreme is the MacGuffin of that movie.
Yeah.
The thing to destroy the universe is buried beneath a Krispy Kreme. So they spent the entire climax of the movie trying to protect the Krispy Kreme from getting destroyed.
Look.
What?
Look.
Yeah.
I was in the theater to watch Man of Steel. Okay? No one beats their product placement schlockery. Okay?
What was their product placement at Man of Steel?
Dude, name a product.
Yeah, but the actual fact that Krispy Kreme was a central plot point in a Power Rangers movie.
It was kind of funny to me, if I'm gonna be honest. As far as it lacked a lot of action, go watch the original Iron Man movie. There's not a lot of action in that. It's like the majority of that movie is just Robert Downey Jr.
I had that complaint.
I
was saying a lot of fans.
I hear what you're saying. I understand where they're coming from. I honestly think the only reason that it probably flopped the way that it did, if those are the reasons, is because it came out at this time when we've had many years of admittedly better superhero fare. But I still think it had a lot of, like, at the very least, a lot of potential. And I would have liked to see what they did with Rita. With her actually being a former Ranger, that could be your explanation of how you give the power to someone else to become a Ranger. Like, that could have been a really cool
they also
thing.
had a mid-credit scene that they had Tommy's jacket and he wasn't there because they probably didn't cast him. But
and then the place blew up.
Yeah,
I remember that. But I thought it was they made, well, this kind of goes to Saban a little bit. We didn't really talk much about... I don't think... And granted, Saban is not always great as far as, like, unions and working with actors and making the best environment for people and stuff. And then there's some of their other things that I think just some people just weren't thinking at the company all the time. Like how you have an Asian woman playing the Yellow Ranger and a black man playing the Black Ranger, and that completely got through pre-production and no one waved any flags about that. I'm not saying that there was any malicious thing going on or any, like, sort of we have like some sort of agenda or like some sort of weird thing.
It
I
is
think it was
weird,
I think it
though.
was just an extreme oversight that no one saw, that they did correct later whenever they switched the actors out, but you mostly were only able to switch the actors out because you weren't paying people enough. But in that regard, there was a controversy with the 2017 movie in regards to its advertising.
Oh.
Because so the posters, you know, they had like various posters for like the Zords and stuff like that had, you know, different slogans. And one of the slogans for one of the posters was in regard to like the giant robots that you could like pilot around, was that you don't even need a driver's license. Which, sure,
that's
teenager,
right.
you don't
And
need.
yeah.
They had it on the Yellow Rangers poster.
Yeah, that's
When
right.
the
I remember
original
that.
the original actress died in a car
Oh
crash.
my god.
Oh god.
Yeah,
That is-
Trini's
Very
actress.
No,
yeah.
it's just
Car
like,
crash.
what the fuck,
Yeah,
guy?
like,
Like, here's the thing. Who makes that as some sort of joke? It couldn't have been intentional. But it's one of those, like, you need a much better, like, department that just goes like, hey, maybe think about not doing that. Because literally, you could put that slogan on any other poster for any other Ranger, any other Zord. You put it on that one, bro.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I'm
Oh.
sure there was no malicious intent, but then it's also
It's
one of
like,
those things where it's like,
that's
what are you thinking?
That's just stupid.
I now that you mention that, I do remember that controversy back then.
They like the majority of people who like brought it up, like they took it down, they switched it out, they did all like that should not have been a thing,
Yeah.
dude. Really?
Yeah.
Like now I'm genuinely worried because like, you know, are they going to advertise something at some point that's going to include, because the comics are still going, I think. Are they at some point going to include something that involves Tommy Oliver that's going to be somehow insensitive to the fact that Jason David Frank is dead? And I'm like, it's going to come at some point.
God,
And I'm
no.
worried about it. And I'm like, dude, just think about what you're doing.
I'm sure whenever they make the next movie or they make the next TV show, they'll put like a in memory of Jason David Frank or something like that. They'll do like a tribute to him in some way.
Watch him spell his name wrong.
In that regard, I actually have a bit of news in regard to that. There was a Kickstarter campaign, I think like last year or something like that, for a feature film to star Jason David Frank.
Was
Which
it made by the same people, Bat and the Sun, that
Let
made
me
the
finish,
Superpowered
let me finish.
Beatdowns?
No. I don't believe so, but I'm not sure. But it's called Legend of the White Dragon.
Yeah,
It
that's
was
the
fully
same people.
funded. Okay, then there you go. So, and he did complete his stuff. It's apparently going to be coming out next year and includes a number of other Power Rangers alums. So that's at least something, and without a doubt, it's going to be dedicated. That will be dedicated to him as his final role. So that is something. I'm like kind of just looking through like some of his filmography here. Just like looking over a few different stuff. Most of it is Power Rangers. You get the occasional fun things of like, wow, I got to go back and look at this episode kind of thing. He was in an episode of Family Matters, titled Karate Kid, where he plays a guy named Skull. all
Oh, he
things.
must have
Well.
been in the one episode where Steve, maybe kind of got cool and could actually kick butt in that one episode. I think I actually do remember that one.
If Steve Urkel fights Tommy Oliver, I have to go find that episode of Family Matters.
Mhm.
Oh
I
my
was gonna say, I'm
goodness.
like, that might be that episode, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, the rest of it, there's the occasional... He was in something called Sweet Valley High for a few episodes that I'm assuming it was like a very short-lived thing.
That was actually based on like a teen YA book series from like the 90s, I think.
Yeah.
So
Something called Undressed, then it's a whole bunch of like Power Rangers stuff. He was part of it. He did a web series called like My Morphing Life, where, you know, it was just kind of like, I guess, talking about that kind of stuff. Transformers thing online, a couple web series here and there. Oh, Power Rangers Hyperforce, which is apparently like the Critical Role, but like with a Power Rangers campaign. I need to go check that out. And he voiced someone in We Bare Bears. Feels really random, but at the same time, I'm like, okay, all right.
Who in We Bare Bears?
Silver Bear?
That's the one! Totally awesome! Welcome to the team, friend!
Thank you, Ultra teammates. I'm Silver Bear. Sit.
Whoa, he's got a lot of moves.
Sit. Not just moves, but artillery too.
Get another color to add to his roster?
Silver Bear. I don't know that one.
Okay. Yeah, a couple other things here and there. The one thing that I really need to find, other than that episode of Family Matters, he was apparently in a 1996 educational interactive movie video game called Piper, where he plays the Pied Piper in the Old West.
Oh?
I need...
What?
I get this is probably like it's from Splash Studios or something. This is probably just a piece of like lost media, but I'm gonna have to really start looking for it because I want to find it. If I can't play it, I want to watch someone play it. The Seattle Times deemed it a technically stunning interactive movie and noted that the play testers enjoyed replaying scenes to learn lines of songs and sing-alongs. Yes, it's a musical. This is a musical, interactive, like, you guys remember when we played Night Trap? Like that.
Trap.
But with Tommy Oliver from Power Rangers as the Pied Piper. People need to find this. I don't know. I'm sure this is not what he wants to be remembered. Look, he's always going to be remembered as a Power Ranger. And probably the best Power Ranger out there. But I want to find this Pied Piper thing. Okay.
Well, you can find it later.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to think. Does anyone else have any other questions about Power Rangers in general or anything else we want to talk about in regard to these episodes? We barely talked about You know what? It's just fun to talk about Power Rangers. Hey, Kozi. Since you're the only person here who's really like seen probably as much as me, which one was your favorite series?
Turbo.
Ah, okay.
I really liked Turbo. Like, that is probably the one I have the most memory of.
Weirdly enough for me, like, I love this one, and I definitely watched a lot of, like, as a kid, you're like, you end up watching everything sporadically just because of, life. But I think I probably watched the most of this one, probably Lost Galaxy, Lightspeed Rescue I really liked.
Wait, I'm changing my answer.
What's up?
The Alien Invasion one, that little mini season they had. That was
God,
awful.
Mighty Morphin Alien Rangers, where where all of our main cast were turned into children? That was a thing. It was weird.
Okay.
Dino Thunder definitely was a really good season. I mentioned that. But, I don't know, weirdly enough, I think I might, despite the fact that the villains are very bizarre and weird, like, I think I might have liked Lightspeed Rescue as one of my favorites. Because, like, I think that was the first series that their powers and their Zords did not come from, like, some outside source, like, an alien space god or, lost technology. Or it was like, hey, demons are invading our city. We're going to build giant robots to fight them. It was very Pacific Rim. And I was like, you know what? I'm down for this. Also, as a kid, I wanted to be like a fireman. So the fact that they were basically all like firefighters and had a Megazord with like ladder punching arms and the Super Train Megazord with like a giant machine gun and like all their stuff was really cool. Plus, they have the only, like, fully American Power Ranger. I think, what was it? The Titanium Ranger? Purely an American invention. They did not have a sixth Ranger. If they did not include it for Lightspeed.
Oh, that was ballsy of them.
Honestly, I think they did really well with it. Because, there was a whole plot thing to that. But, like, I thought it was done pretty well. Trying to think, like, I don't think we have anything else. I think we pretty much covered everything.
Okay,
that we
yay
can
or
cover
nay then.
here. Oh, 100% yay. 110% yay.
Yay.
Yeah, it's a yay for me.
Overall, what was?
I think I'm
Oh, sorry.
pretty solidly neutral on this.
Okay, it's fair. What was everyone? Because this is kind of like the end of what was supposed to be the end of the year. It was supposed to be the end of our Saban month thing. What was everybody's favorite Saban thing that we watched?
Cyber 6.
Beetleborgs.
Beetleborg, Cyber 6.
Probably Power Rangers, if I'm being honest.
I'd have to get back to you. I think I have to rewatch some stuff that I just remembered but did not actually rewatch for the show.
Okay, well, mine's Digimon, so.
We didn't watch that.
Well, I watched it. Yeah. So, all right. So, new year, new stuff. Got to be doing new things. So next week, I kind of feel like watching more Power Rangers stuff. How about an anime that's pretty much based on Power Rangers?
Well, with a twist.
Yeah,
I
with
know
a twist.
exactly what-
Okay, not nearly as much of a twist as you think. Yeah. So how about? Okay, so what? Power Rangers with a twist. Let's watch Power Rangers, but as a romance show. Has anyone heard of Love After World Domination? You should.
Watched it last
it's great.
year, baby.
Let's check that out. Come back next time to watch that. Bye-bye, everybody. Happy New Year.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, thanks for watching, and if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe and ring the bell icon for notifications. If you enjoyed this video, give us a like, and if you haven't already, check out some of our previous episodes, our daily gaming videos, or our parody series Madoka Magically Abridged. See you next time!